Beyond the gates of hell, in a realm that could be called the land of the dead, a single demon was trampling across the darkness like a living disaster. The weak ran screaming, the strong tried to gather and defend themselves. None of it mattered. Every demon that misjudged him fell, and his rampage continued without mercy. Demons were spiritual life forms, so if their physical bodies were destroyed, they would regenerate over time. Maybe he knew that. Maybe that was why he did not hold back at all. The name of that personification of violence was Diablo.
It has been so long since my last visit. Quite a number of chumps have sprung up in the meantime, have they not? Assembling a group of these will accomplish nothing. I need to find my old friends.
His old friends were demons comparable to him. His mission on this long journey was to recruit them.
I am sure they have what it takes to make Sir Rimuru satisfied.
With that, Diablo teleported away, leaving behind only the remains of those who had failed to understand his strength. Back in Tempest, my inspections were complete, and I had a decent grasp of where we stood. I still could not see the end of the rail installation work. We were considering several lines for now, one from the Dwarven Kingdom to Tempest, one from Tempest to Bloomond, and another from Bloomond to Farminus. There was also a southern route that branched off toward Eurazania, and a future route toward Thalion that would require a tunnel through the Kusha Mountains. I wanted a railway to the ocean someday too. Cheaper seafood sounded like a national priority to me. For now, with our test locomotive completed, the project was finally over the hump. The energy drive was the big part, but development did not end there. We still had comfort, noise, testing, and all the smaller details to solve. Kaijin's team was handling that work, recording their results as they went. If anyone got stuck on a tricky calculation, I had Raphael handle it. No reason not to use a quantum supercomputer-level partner when one was available. Between Veldora, Ramiris, and me, Ramiris was somehow earning the highest salary at the moment. The labyrinth was raking in a massive profit, and she took 20% of that. Veldora and I, meanwhile, were on 1 gold coin a day from the National Treasury, although Veldora also got labyrinth allowances and special payments because his magicules helped us so much. Inspired by everyone's sudden work ethic, I decided I should put in more effort too. First, it was time to get serious about the physical body vessels I had promised Diablo. Ramiris was my assistant for this, and we would also be working on bodies for trainee sisters. I wanted her feedback, and she kindly accepted the request, although she started whining about needing more personnel almost immediately.
I really need someone to handle all the odd jobs I need, and I have a few other things I want to ask you for too. With Trainee and Barretto alone, I can't quite seem to keep up with all my work.
At first, I thought she just wanted more people to brag to, but when I remembered how busy Trainee and the others looked, I reconsidered. Ramiris was not just my assistant. She had her own mission, craft a new elemental colossus. The core was complete. The skeleton and framework were in place. We even had a sample elemental colossus to work with. But modifications always take time. Kaijin had his hands full with the train. Kaibi Aluthter was hard at work reviving his old armored soldier project while also helping Ramiris in his spare time. I worried he was overworking himself. I asked Ramiris, "What about Veldora?"
Yes. What about the master, indeed? Whenever I ask him for some detailed piece of work, he disappears.
I see. Maybe not worth relying on then? Veldora was Veldora. He was always busily running from one thing to another. I used to think he would be a bother to most people, but he actually was smart despite his personality, and I suppose he really did help out a lot. Still, if the job was detailed enough, he was apparently hard to pin down. So I told Ramiris, "All right, I'll round up someone."
Great, thanks!
With that promise made, I started thinking about who to pick. The days continued peacefully enough, until one day someone came along. In my office, a huge pile of documents sat on my desk waiting for approval. I left the actual sorting to Raphael. It evaluated proposals, rearranged them by priority, approved or rejected them, and then I applied my stamp in one continuous flow. It was not exactly hard, but rote work like that was always a pain. I stamped away in silence, wishing Diablo were here to handle this. Time for a break. I returned to slime mode and lazed around on my sofa. The softness of my body and the elasticity of the cushions together felt like a ball pit full of feathers. Since sleeping required a trick or two for me these days, this was my secret little heaven. Then I heard knocking. I wanted to keep relaxing, but someone was here. Ah well. I switched to human form, sat in my chair, and replied, "Come in." The door opened, revealing Shuna. She bowed to me.
Sir Rimuru, you have a visitor. He gave his name as Deeno, and he says you'd know who he is?
Deeno, huh? There was only one Deeno I could possibly know. I asked Shuna. He's a demon lord, isn't he? Part of the octogram. What's he here for?
A demon lord? Should I ask my brother to assemble our troops, just in case?
No, that's all right, I told her. If we come to blows, just get me Benimaru and Shion, but I doubt we will. If I had to guess, he's come to check things out. I reassured Shuna and stood up. There was probably little to worry about. Deeno did say he wanted to stop by during Walpurgis, didn't he? I had kind of ignored it then, but I guess he had been serious.
Very well. I will make the arrangements.
With a nod, Shuna guided me to the room where Deeno was waiting. It helped to have several rooms for different occasions. Merchants and nobles could have ornate parlors. Famed monsters or suspicious visitors could be shown simple but sturdy rooms, if only because they might cause expensive damage. Deeno was waiting in one of those solid, functional rooms. When I came in with Shuna, I found him looking very casual. In fact, he was sprawled out on the sofa, taking full advantage despite being a guest. Deeno greeted me without getting up. "Hey, nice to see ya. Doing well?" Shuna wrinkled her nose but silently bowed and left, no doubt to fetch tea. I took a seat facing him and answered, "Great, thanks. I got a lot of problems to deal with, so things aren't exactly chill, but..." I took a closer look at Deeno. He looked just as blasé and unaffected as the last time I saw him, but his attitude suggested I had better keep my guard up. No wonder Shuna was wary of him. Deeno replied, "You got problems? That sucks." I said, "Yeah, kind of. I'm still pretty new to demon lording, so nothing's going easy for me yet. But what brings you here?" "Oh, me," Deeno said. "Well, I said I'd visit you, so here I am." His answer came too briskly. It sounded like a lie. Silence settled between us, but then Shuna returned with tea and snacks, navigating the quiet room like nothing was wrong. She laid everything out, bowed again and left. She really was a professional. I took a sip of tea and watched Deeno. He was the first to relent. Deeno finally admitted, "Well, to tell you the truth, I got kicked out of Dagrel's place." I could only say, "Huh?" Deeno kept going. "Yeah, I'm kind of homeless, so I'd been hanging at Dagrel's joint. I'm also penniless, so..." Whoa. This was a demon lord? He might be honest, but this guy was bad news. Deeno brightened like he had found the solution to all his problems. So I thought about what I ought to do, and I remembered that Dagrel's sons had nice things to say about their time in your country. So now I'm looking for a place here. I could not show him a single shred of mercy. "No," I told him, "you can't." Deeno blinked. "What?" I answered. The room fell silent again. Deeno reacted like he had never imagined I would refuse. If he was really that oblivious, that surprised me even more. I knew him, sure, but I had no obligation to house such a sketchy drifter. I could already tell this was the kind of guy who would never work a day in his life. Deeno stammered. Wait! I want you to give me a sec, okay? I mean, what do you want me to do? Go die out in the wilderness? "No," I said. "Get a job." Deeno sounded genuinely offended. "Are you crazy? To me, staying out of the working class is part of my style. I've never earned any of my money the past few hundred years, and I've never paid for any of my food or drink." Well, there you go. He was penniless because he refused to work. No wonder he could not pay at restaurants. I told him, "Wow, impressive. You can leave after you're done eating that, okay? The sooner someone like this was out of my hair, the better." Ignoring him, I reached for the snack in front of me, a fluffy cream puff to go with the tea. Delicious. I doubted I would ever grow sick of this. Deeno looked a little panicked, but he followed my lead and took a bite. Then his eyes changed. Deeno suddenly declared, "All right, I'll become a citizen of this country, so let me serve you." This nonsense hit me like lightning. "What?" I asked. "Look, Why are you coming in here? And Deeno cut in, completely serious. No, I mean it. If I can eat stuff like this every day, I have no regrets. Rimuru? Let me call you Sir Rimuru. Your wish is my command. For a moment, I just stared at him. I told him I was not going to hire him. Ooh, I said. I know we've met before and all, but it was just that one time, okay? What do you really want? I finished my cream puff, gave Deeno a stern look, and sipped my tea. His eyes darted around, a habit he shared with Ramiris, except he was not nearly as cute. Finally, he shrugged and dropped the couch surfer act. Deeno said, "Well, the way Guy puts it, I'm probably best off here in this country. He didn't tell me why, though. He's selfish like that. It's a pain in the ass if you defy him, and I really did get kicked out of Dagrill's place. And I got sick of thinking about it, so I just came over." "Guy?" I asked. "That redhead?" Deeno nodded. "Yeah, that redhead. He did not seem to be lying. Guy must have actually said that. But why me?"
Understood. It is very likely the subject Guy Crimson disliked supporting the subject Deeno and wishes to have you care for him instead.
Dude, way to be blunt with it. But that did seem likely. Then Deeno remembered something. Oh right, I got a letter from Guy. He took it out and handed it to me. Between the seal and the eerie force oozing from it, I could definitely spot Guy Crimson's mark. The entire contents of the letter were simple. Take care of Deeno for me. Guess I was not wrong then. If Deeno was carrying this around, he must have been mooching off Guy for a while. Apparently, I was getting the hot potato thrown in my direction. Deeno looked hopeful. So, we good? No, we were not good. I thought the matter over, irritated. This was a pain, but antagonizing Guy was ill-advised. He was on a level of his own among demon lords, and I doubted I could beat him right now. It would be safer to accommodate Deeno than tangle with Guy. So did I just grin and bear it? If I did, I was not going to let him screw around. I never invited him as a guest, and I did not want to set a bad precedent. Then I remembered something. This guy was subservient to Ramiris, wasn't he? And she had just said she needed more staff. Maybe this was actually perfect timing. I could not let my guard down around Deeno. But whether he meant it or not, he did offer his services. I might as well accept them. Yes. Let's make him Ramiris' assistant. I grinned at him and said, "All right, but you're gonna have to work." Deeno recoiled. "What did you say?" "Quit acting so shocked, dude. You told me seconds ago that my wish was your command." Bottling up my frustration, I explained the job. "Of course, when I say work, it's really simple, actually. I want you to be an assistant to Ramiris." Deeno asked, "Ramiris, she's here too?" "She sure is," I said. "She's helping with a lot of my work." Deeno tilted his head. "Huh? I thought she was like me, just holed up in her labyrinth all day." Looks like Deeno thought Ramiris was a kindred soul. I could see why, but these days she was actually working pretty hard. "No," I explained, "she's pitching in around here now, and between you and me, I think she's having a lot of fun. I want to focus on development, but I have all these other things keeping me busy, so she's really a big help to me." I would never tell Ramiris that directly because it would go right to her head, but it was how I felt. Deeno fell silent for a bit. Then he gingerly asked, "So what kind of work would she have me do?" He sounded really against it. I thought about explaining, but maybe not right now. Better to put him on the job and teach him on site. "No need to fret about it," I told him. "Whatever you're able to do is welcome. But let me show you to your workplace first." Deeno muttered, All right, don't expect much from me." I frowned at him. Oh, don't act that way before you even start. I think you'll be just fine. Probably you'll only be following Ramiris' directions, so with a fresh pang of anxiety in my brain, I decided to take Deeno to our personal laboratory on floor 100. We took the direct route passing Veldora's chambers, the large room he used as his lair for engaging challengers, and the private quarters behind it. He was nowhere to be found. I wondered where he had gone. Probably out goofing around somewhere. Deeno stopped and looked around. "Dude, why are there so many magicules around?" "Oh, that's Veldora's room in there," I told him. Don't go in, okay? He's pretty selfish, so he gets pissy if anyone touches his stuff. Deeno's eyes widened. Veldora lives here? I'd been wondering since the last wall purchase. How are you two connected exactly? I answered, we're friends is all. Deeno mulled that over. Friends? You seemed like more than acquaintances to me, yeah, but... Well... Deeno's droopy eyes opened a little wider in surprise. So that's why Veldora seemed to disappear from my detection, he said. He was hiding in Ramiris's labyrinth. Ah, not exactly, I said. He disappeared because he learned how to control his magicules. He used to let his aura pour out of him, so there were tons of magicules all over the place. If I wanted to invite a bunch of visitors in here, I couldn't really have that now, could I? So I had him practice controlling his aura. Deeno sounded almost offended by the idea. Huh? Veldora, ruler of the forest of Jura, and now he's holding his aura back so well that not even I can detect it? Him? The agitated Deeno must have thought I made it sound too easy. But it was the truth. Huh? I said. I mean, he was pretty amenable to it. Otherwise, I'd say the majority of people in this city would be having problems right now. Deeno hesitated. Yeah, but I mean all that magical energy he had. Until the hero sealed him away, people feared him as this flying disaster, his aura spreading across the world. So why? That sounded pretty mean, although it was probably the truth. Given Veldora's past with Luminous, he must have misbehaved a lot. Well, I said, I suppose he's changed a little. Now if I ask him to do something, he'll actually listen to some extent. He's not that selfish any longer. Deeno immediately caught me. Didn't you just say he was selfish a moment ago? Oh, did I?
Understood, you did.
Oh. Yes, I told Deeno, changing course as quickly as possible. But I mean it's never that bad. But that aura control, remember, in a situation like this, it was best to change the subject as soon as possible. I told Deeno about what happened when I released Veldora. And with his aura, I said, I told him he'd look cooler if he held it back, so he practiced pretty hard. It was tough for me too, helping him with it. It was tough but worth it. Not that we had much choice anyway. As he was, I could not possibly show him around to others. Deeno sounded impressed. Really? Wow, Rimuru. You definitely live up to my expectations. Weren't you just trying to bum free meals from me? He might try to sound cool right now, but he could not trick me, Deeno continued. I'm amazed you actually managed to tame Veldora. Really, Milim was way more selfish than Veldora ever was. And even she could not mouth off against Frey. Everyone has people they know better than to mess around with. Well, I said, Veldora's hardly the only selfish brat I had to deal with. Milim, too. I regaled Deeno with the story of how I met Milim, and how intensely unfair she acted toward me. She was not here, so I was free to speak my mind. I told him about her most recent annoying nonsense, and about some of Veldora's terrible exploits as well, figuring I could ask him which one he thought was the worst. There was a lot to talk about. It seemed to put Deeno into a state of shock, unable to comprehend half of it after a certain point. I never did find out which one he thought was worst. In the middle of that, we finally reached my laboratory. Looking inside, I found Veldora himself busily assisting Ramiris. It looked like another day of honest work. Considering how much Ramiris used and abused him, he was proving to be a very loyal dragon. Deeno froze. Veldora is working? See, I said. I told you. Even with all his complaints, Veldora was lending Ramiris a hand. He was awfully kind to her. Maybe he liked how she called him master. He always did what I asked him in the end, and it was even easier to keep him in line if you buttered him up a little. By dragon standards, he was a pushover. Vester was there too, despite his responsibilities modifying the elemental colossus on floor 95. I had said we were short on people, so maybe he decided to put my job first. Ramiris and Veldora were having fun, flashing evil grins at each other, but Vester looked exhausted and in dire need of a break. I stepped inside and called out, "Hey guys, how's the research going?" Vester stopped writing and stood up. "Ah, Sir Rimuru? Nah, stay where you are, I told him. Hey, you doing okay? You look kinda worn out. Vester answered carefully. I'd like to say I'm okay, but this kind of research is rather taxing on the mind. Sounds a bit hard to talk about. I considered asking further, but Veldora interrupted.
Well, Rimuru, I am pitching in here. As you can see, I normally would not, but Ramiris insisted, of course.
Thanks, I said. It really does look like she could use more help. My research was top secret. I could not bring in the Floor 95 researchers, so I could only show it to people I trusted. Well, no. Maybe it was more accurate to say I could only show it to people who would not complain at me about it. After all, I was preparing a small army of bodies to implant demons into. Research or not, people from other countries might see it as a military threat.
Hey, Rimuru! I've been waiting for you! The Master's been helping me in a lot of ways, but I still need to fill up my open spaces fast.
I thought you'd say that, I told her, so I brought along some help today. You know this guy, right, Ramiris? It's Deeno, a demon lord like us, and it sounds like he wants to help starting today. If you need anything, ask him, okay? I doubted Deeno had any academic knowledge, but anything requiring muscle ought to be up his alley. It was not like an amateur could assist at a research lab anyway. Chances were he would be doing things like moving stuff around and collecting data. We needed people to cover basic tasks like that so he could still be useful. Deeno looked around the room, curious. Then he introduced himself in the most listless way possible. Name's Deeno. As you know, I'm a demon lord, more or less. I don't like working, but I've got no other choice, so I'm gonna help out here. Thanks in advance. Not exactly inspiring, but that was all right. At least he was willing to pitch in. I moved on to finding out why Vester was here and what they were up to. Vester was at my lab on floor 100 because Ramiris had basically kidnapped him. As expected, there were not enough staff on hand, so she had placed a temporary halt to his work and put my project for. Vester did not have much say in the matter. We needed someone to fuss over documents and collect data. Beretta handled physical labor, Trainee took care of Ramiris and managed the labyrinth, and Veldora did not want to help with that sort of thing. Vester was the next best option. I asked Ramiris, "You can afford to ignore the elemental colossus for now?"
Well, not really, but once we're done with this, Trainee sisters can have bodies too, right? I figured we could kick off development from there.
That did seem rational. I turned to Vester. Sorry you got it so rough. Vester shrugged and gave me a childlike grin. Part of me wants to see the Armored Soldier project to completion, but this research has its gratifying aspects as well. I guess he had mixed feelings. He had a valid complaint, but being involved with this research made him happy too. As a scientist, he had his own internal conflicts, and they were helping him rapidly mature. He looked a little surprised to learn Deeno was a demon lord, but he recovered almost instantly. All the surprises Tempest offered must have given him a protective shell. Vester did not hide his excitement. But indeed, I hope to continue with the research here. These base bodies you're trying to create, Sir Rimuru. I'd like to see them completed. There's a new surprise every day. I almost hate to lose time to sleep. So his haggard look was just the result of sleep deprivation. There were magical ways to refresh yourself, but they were not an all-in-one solution. You still needed breaks. You could not just keep going forever. I ordered Vester to rest for now. Since Deeno happened to be here, he could handle miscellaneous tasks for the time being. So Vester started explaining the work to Deeno. Hopefully they would get along. A new demon lord did not faze Vester at all. Vester addressed him politely but firmly. Now, Sir Deeno, not to hurry things along, but would you mind assisting me? Deeno replied, huh? Vester did not budge. No, not huh. We only have so much time. Vester answered, so? Deeno trailed off. So, with a sigh, Vester kept a steady gaze on Deeno. Vester told him, listen, whether you're a demon lord doesn't matter here. Look at how much fun Sir Veldora and Lady Ramiris are having with their work. Deeno faltered. I can see that, but... Vester pressed on. I'm glad you understand. Now let's begin. Deeno gave in. Okay. Vester was a strong guy. I watched them for a while, but it looked like they would be fine. I decided not to worry about them. Now for our research results. I had promised Diablo, but preparing 1,000 physical bodies took a ton of effort. One idea was to craft a Magisteel doll like Beretta and then make copies of it with Raphael. That sounded like a slog. Painstakingly crafting each one was out of the question too. So I came up with another brilliant idea. A facility that could manufacture mass quantities of these bodies. For that, I prepared a set of reinforced clear glass capsules, around 3.5 feet wide and almost 10 feet tall. I called them incubation capsules, and they were meant for growing monsters and other organic matter inside. Each one was filled with a liquid solution, water from the sealed cave's underground lake, internalized inside my stomach. This was magic water, infused with a high concentration of magicules and useful for diluting or strengthening all kinds of medicinal effects. Each incubation capsule had a port for magicule injection, letting people add more at any time. We could freely adjust the concentration of the magic water to suit the monster we were trying to generate. If the concentration dipped too low, the system automatically injected magicules, keeping the count at a preset level. I had 1,000 of these capsules ready. Part of me felt that crafting all of them had been almost as much work as just making the bodies myself. But I banished the thought. It was all about the spectacle. Designing them had been a blast, so I had no regrets. The chamber was lined with incubation capsules. It was quite a sight. We also knew from research that generating monsters required certain conditions. Filling a capsule with magicules would not cut it, no matter how much you had. But if some other element was included, an element that enhanced and manifested itself in the resulting monster, the story changed. For example, assume I put a snake in one of those capsules. The magicules inside would kill it. Its body would melt, mix with the magicules, and be reborn as a Tempest serpent. A common snake would become an A- rank creature. That should show how dangerous these capsules were. The monsters produced this way were guaranteed to be several levels more advanced than what Mother Nature would create. Probably because we kept the magicule concentrate at the right level. However, some monsters born this way would quickly collapse and die. Body stability seemed to be a matter of luck. There was room for improvement, but I still wanted to use these features to produce 1,000 demon bodies. I asked, "So how have things been going?"
Perfectly, Rimuru. And you know, my research has been moving along too.
I leaned closer. Oh, I look forward to seeing it. Wait, what's that? What I saw floating in the capsule made me laugh. It was amazing and nothing like what I expected. Personally, I thought we would make skeletons out of Magisteel and toss them in the capsules, producing the base for a bone-golem. The artificial frame would minimize the risk of collapse, and it would not be infused with a soul. The magicules in the liquid would crystallize on the bones, so I thought there was zero chance it would achieve sentience. There was no need for intricate design work like with Beretta, because the demons occupying them would use their own magicules to customize them. Or so I thought. Floating inside the 1,000 capsules were 1,000 bone-golem bodies. That much was certain. But each one had assorted work done on different sections. The area around the heart stood out the most. Where each heart would be, a spirit core beat a rhythm instead. I stared at it.
This? Yeah, it's my idea. With a strong core like that, I'm sure the monsters using them will be stronger than ever.
Ramiris smiled like this was no big deal. Preparing 1,000 spirit cores had to be a pain though. I did not need much time for it, but unless you had a real interest and passion for it, that kind of rote work would be hard to enjoy. That was why I had chosen the simplest method for making these bodies, but that was not good enough for Ramiris. She had put in the hours required to produce 1,000 spirit cores, and each one even had a pseudo-soul inside it. It also featured technology we had cribbed from the Thalian homunculi. Beretta had no problem possessing his body, but Trainee's sisters might have a harder time. Adding pseudo-souls was probably a good idea, but that too must have taken up so much time. No wonder Ramiris kept complaining about needing more staff. Vester gazed into the distance and said, "Lady Ramiris's idea was wonderfully compelling to me. One look and I really just had to help out." I could see his point. With a sample run this large, you could record all the data you ever wanted. Each fist-sized spirit core looked high quality to me when I sized them up. Fusing them with the skeletons I crafted had resulted in changes I never imagined. My frameworks were magically inscribed so magicules would form muscle groups over them too, which made it look like we had an up-close view of monster development like never before. Now I understood why Vester barely felt the need to sleep.
What do you think? Pretty neat, huh?
Wahahaha. Just seeing that face from you makes this project a fine success.
Ramiris and Veldora looked pleased with themselves. It's pretty interesting, yeah, I said. But was this really your idea, Ramiris?
What? Of course it was! What do you think of that?
She almost shouted, puffing out her chest at me. She deserved to be proud. I was impressed. Ramiris might seem like an idiot at first glance, but she was actually pretty smart. Her sense for spirit engineering was perfect, and she had been studying sorceress science and paying frequent visits to Floor 95. As long as she had lived, she had a full grasp of the laws of physics. It astounded me to say it, but she had all the qualifications of a researcher. You really could not judge her by the externals. I told her, "This is really amazing. If this was all handmade, it must have been super difficult, right?"
Well, kind of. These frameworks are modeled after people's skeletons, not like with Beretta's ball joints, but with an artificial heart. They really soak in the magicules and gain a lot of magic energy, I think.
I nodded along with her impassioned theory. She was right. This would probably enhance their bodily strength beyond what I had imagined. By a lot, actually. Watching the bodies in their capsules, I tried to picture what powers they would have. In terms of magicule energy, I guess they would sit on the upper end of A rank, and we had 1,000 of them. I still could not believe Ramiris had prepared enough spirit cores and pseudo-souls for all of them. She really deserved a round of applause. Several days passed after Deeno's arrival. Diablo was not back yet, but I had a feeling he would be soon. Today, as usual, I headed to the lab to get those bodies wrapped up for him. Things were busy over there. Ramiris and Veldora were verbally jousting about something.
I told you, Master, if you want to encourage growth, we need to inject your magicules directly into them.
Yeah, but what if that winds up breaking this thing? Then Rimuru will yell at me, not you.
They were at it again. It sounded interesting, so I hid myself and watched. I was getting good at concealing my presence lately, and it did not look like Veldora noticed I had arrived.
It's fine. You know how many we have. And I promise I'll put in a good word when you ask him for your favor. So please?
It sounded like Ramiris was asking him for magicule support. But what did Veldora want from me? I could not guess.
Well, all right. You better live up to your word, though.
Yep. Just trust me.
They had a deal, so Veldora nodded. Considering how haughty he usually acted, he seemed to be enjoying what was about to happen. It looked like Ramiris put him up to it, mostly, but he had been receptive from the beginning. Veldora brought a hand up to an incubation capsule and, with a very meaningful shout, infused it with magicules.
Ha!
The capsule began swirling with an unusually high concentration of magicules. Considering the pressure, I could see how it might break apart. Was this going to be okay? I was worried, but I kept watching silently. If it shattered, we could deal with it. I was more curious about what Ramiris was attempting. Inside the capsule, crystallized magicules attached to the magisteel skeleton began transforming into something like muscle tissue. Raphael had predicted that much. It was part of the plan. But now, with Veldora directly injecting his own magic force, something unexpected was happening. Vast numbers of magicules began to pervade the skeleton, transforming the framework itself. I heard Ramiris murmur from beside the capsule.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
Which, well, that was what experiments were for. The skeleton material could no longer be called magisteel, nor was it oracle or mithril, since no gold or silver was mixed in. Its strength was not crimson steel yet, but it had risen to at least the level of oracle. More impressive, though, was how the skeleton seemed alive. It looked like metal that could literally breathe.
Understood. It is a type of adamant or biomagisteel. It has been transformed by the magical waves of the subject Veldora. Theoretically, one could call it Dragontite.
I see. To me, it looked like Ramiris had been searching for a way to finish the bodies faster. and in the process she had stumbled upon the discovery of a neat new metal. And it was not over yet.
Whoa! Master! Stop! Stop! Stop!
There are cracks in the capsule.
Both of them panicked. I could not tell if they were geniuses or fools right now. That was enough watching. I finally stepped in and asked, "What are you people doing?" After repairing the capsule, I called for a coffee and snack break, inviting Vester and Deeno to join us. Trainee the Dryad was kind enough to serve.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.